Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. For the purposes of anybody that's going to be listening, why don't we introduce ourselves? With your permission, Matt, I'll go first. I'm Steve O'Neill. I'm the head of Konfir, which we're really excited to be talking about today. I've been in the background checking space for somewhere around 25 years in a variety of different capacities, and have always had a healthy respect for Giant Screening, the people that run it, the people that work within it, and the service that it offers to its clients. So absolute pleasure to be talking to you today.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm Matt Armstrong. I'm the CEO and founder of Giant Screening. Not quite 25 years in for Steve, but I think I'm totting over 20 now, hence the reason we're probably both so great. And yeah, so we started Giant Screening about 5 years ago, just coming out of a market that probably frustrated me a bit and thought I could do it better. And we're 5 years down the line. And yeah, really excited to be working with Konfir now.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt. So I think today really it's a celebration as much as a discussion. It's a celebration that Giant Screening have recently become one of our key foundation clients for Konfir. We are now working together. We're working together really hard actually to deliver a truly instantaneous employment verification service to your clients globally. And that's really what I'm keen to talk about. So for those of you that are unaware, what is Konfir? Konfir is ultimately a platform that, working on behalf of the background checking industry, it instantly verifies employment verification and income validation on any UK-based worker with their consent at the drop of a hat. And it's really innovative stuff that we're doing, and it's having the impact that we obviously desire it to have. So Matt, from my perspective, a question that I'm sure people will be really interested in hearing: what challenges do you believe are companies facing in the area of employment referencing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest challenge, without doubt, is there's probably two, but the biggest one is speed. Okay, so if we look at all of our background screening that we do, all of the different checks that we do on people that we're onboarding for our clients, if we go back, I guess, 10 years, the major slowdown in that was criminal record checks, and everything was measured by how long they took. Now that's gone. You know, the transactions of there is far quicker. We're now measuring anything on how long it takes to do the employment verifications for them. And that tends to be the bit that if we're holding up a process, that's absolutely where it is. So it's really great and refreshing that somebody's actually looked at that and gone, do you know what, we think we can fix that. We think we can, you know, think of a better way, because everything else we already have done. And one of the reasons that it's so critical now is if we look at the job market and the general recruitment landscape, certainly, you know, probably about, you know, a quarter of our clients are in the contingent worker space, which is all about we need to get people there quick. We can't do that when we're trying to do full referencing. So to be able to validate employment verifications instantly in many cases will just significantly improve that process for our clients, and ultimately it will give them a competitive advantage to people that are using that technology.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on. You know, in my mind, it's definitely speed. It's the impact on turnaround time. It's also candidate experience. You know, and it's also, from our perspective, we've covered it with full respect to the security requirements. You know, the instantaneous nature of our offering doesn't dilute the need to be absolutely secure in that transactional period. And now's the time, we feel now's the time to be able to embrace that with obviously the things like ISO 27001 certification. Those are the standards that one would expect nowadays in the background checking space, but also under the security blanket of the DCMS trust framework. You know, that legislation that was announced and came live in this year, in April of this year, and is absolutely formalized from October the 1st, has really opened the floodgates to removing the manual part of the verification process. And it means, rightly so, that you know, background checkers, those that are innovative, brave enough to embrace that technology and take it to their clients, they are they're no longer going to be challenged by some of the unfortunate situations on SLAs, KPIs, service credits, etc. So full credit to Giant Screening for seeing the opportunity, having the courage really to take this to their clients, to say this is something innovative that's happening within the marketplace right now. We think you should listen. We will back it and we'll introduce it where we feel right. Now, inevitably, it doesn't solve all the problem statements within the employment referencing space, and there are clearly, in the regulated world, in the aviation space, as an example, or in some of the approved roles in financial services, that's work in progress, and we're moving towards that through polling and cajoling and speaking to the regulatory bodies. Do you think Giant has a role to play and can help in that process?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many of our clients operate in a regulated environment, and yes, there are certain roles within that onboarding that automated employment verification currently won't work. However, one of the great benefits in those regulated roles, and you mentioned it about candidate experience, is not about the employment verification. It's the opposite. It's looking at, they've got gaps in their employment. And within that regulated environment, where there's a gap in employment, we have to verify that gap as well, which generally is a challenge for the candidate, because we're saying to them things like, we need proof that you weren't working during that period. And that's often them sending us bank statements so that we can look at that, prove there's no income during that period, for example. And that's not a great candidate experience, because no one has bank statements anymore, for a start, which is a challenge. So we've now got a solution there in Konfir that we can say, well, actually, you don't need to do all of that. We can use the open banking data. We can use the data that Konfir has given us to verify those gaps. So even within a regulated environment, I think that the Konfir solution has got a really strong benefit for them as well.
Yeah, and Konfir is currently focused on the UK market. Clearly, our aspirations are international in that nature. Why, from your perspective, Matt, do you think the UK is the best place to start? Is it the legislation? Is it the fact that the verification market really hasn't evolved in that area, particularly over the course of the last years? What's the standout factor for you?
Yeah, I think if we look at, and it's one of the things that I harp on about, certainly internally, if we look at the UK screening market, all we do generally is try and copy the US in our approach. I've seen a lot of improvement, and I like to think that Giant are driving some of that improvement. What I'm not seeing is true innovation, what I refer to as innovation. Just taking a process and trying to improve it a bit, that's not innovation. Truly doing something different. And I think that the UK market is primed for that, because we have, you've got the availability of the data, you guys are tapping into that. So it's a really good place to prove the concept initially. And I think that the market is ready for something new in that scenario. And I think they'll be quick to adopt that as well. So UK, absolutely. And then once we can push globally, that's useful. I mean, we service roughly about, I think, 60 different countries at the moment. We've got clients in 60 different countries. So it'd be great to roll out to there. We're just on a process of opening offices internationally as well to further increase that. So wherever we can take that, there'll be benefit in that jurisdiction as well.
Absolutely, yeah, but absolutely spot on. I think really, what was our defining direction? We were great believers in the fact that our significant life events, be that buying a property, financing event, renting a home, getting a job, none of these things had actually moved forward particularly well. They're all hampered by that manual verification process. And looking to the US market, where quite frankly this has evolved quite significantly over the years, we do not ingest the data. We hold the data, we grab it through an API. It's on the consumer's behest. It's with their absolute permission, and we use it for one time only, and then we delete it. So it's an absolutely secure, consumer-led, consumer-driven standardized API that we're offering, and we genuinely believe that this could be revolutionary in the industry. So
yeah, and I think, Steve, that going on from what our clients want to see, I need to think about the candidate adoption as well, and I think we're in a brilliant place for that also. So if we look at, I mean, personal story, just looked at my 2-year mortgage deal was up, so I needed to do it again. Last time, just 2 years ago, I was taking my passport in, taking my ID documents in, taking my proof of address in, etc., and things like that. And that was just 2 years ago. Whereas this time round, it was, here's a link, download an app. All of it was done at my desk, scanning the passport, doing the likeness. And obviously what we're seeing in a lot of areas with IDVT is that adoption of that journey that the candidate will go through. Now, the journey that they'll go through with konfir will be very similar as well. So the candidate is starting to adopt that and be comfortable with that. So maybe would they have been comfortable 3 or 4 years ago? I think possibly not. But now, absolutely, because in every walk of life, we're finding that this is the way that people are interacting with each other. So I think the candidate adoption will not be a
completely agree. And you know what I think is so fantastic is the way that our teams are now working together to make that workflow seamless, so that the candidate, you know, doesn't actually feel that they're jumping from one platform to the next. The handoff, there's no friction. It's a process that is smooth, efficient, instantaneous, and they're getting to their jobs quicker because of us collectively. So yeah, really proud of that. Let's talk a little bit about sort of instant verification versus automated. There's lots of talk in the industry, you know, I guess the sort of the way that it had developed in the market. It had gone from the old days where we first started, Matt, from letters to faxes to, you know, emails. Then systems were started to be created, and they were doing integrations with those, and then you had the automated process. You know, instantaneous is definitely where it's at, but there is a huge difference between an automated and an instantaneous check. Are you seeing that in the market as well?
Absolutely. And controversial view from me, automated referencing just doesn't work. It's as simple as that. And the reason being is most people want to take automated referencing and go, it's a properly automated process. Now with that, there's just so many compliance holes all the way through it. So what do? We take the candidate's information, the system will automatically start pinging out emails. Great. The candidate's put mymum@hotmail.com. Fantastic. We've got a reference back from his mum. Yeah. But, you know, there's compliance holes all the way through it. I mean, what we do at Giant, certainly, yeah, we use automated referencing. But we have a compliance check beforehand. So every piece of information, we know exactly where it's going. We've got huge data sources that say this is where it needs to go. So we'll validate that before it goes out. And we're working on some technology that will further enhance that. And then it starts sending those reference requests out. And it's great because we do get some back. Yeah. But if automated referencing work, I wouldn't have a huge team, imaginatively called the referencing team, sitting there chasing up references, trying to get this information. Yeah. We wouldn't be going back to candidates asking for supporting documents because we can't obtain that reference because that business is being unresponsive, or that business just doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. You know, it's the sad state of affair. So automated referencing end to end just doesn't work, Steve. You know, certainly we put processes in that mean it's semi-automated, and therefore we get the results the client wants. So yeah, it's a million miles away from what instantaneous verifications are as well.
And I guess for your clients, why would they settle for automated when instantaneous is available increasingly?
Yeah, absolutely. Instantaneous would be preferable to them. I suppose to frame it, it would need to be what the client's looking to get out of it. Yeah. And now is not the time to start the debate on the value of references, etc., and things like that. Yeah, that's a long discussion. But ultimately, what most clients want actually isn't a reference. We just term it as a reference. What they want is a verification that they were employed. Absolutely. At that place. You know, going back, a reference is, in the old days, here's a letter, it tells you how great. Misnomer,
right? I completely agree with you.
Absolutely. But actually what a client wants to know is that person has told me they worked for, I don't know, HSBC for the last 4 years. I'm recruiting them based on the fact that they've got that experience of working with HSBC. So I need to be comfortable with that. And an instantaneous verification will give them that comfort, in essence.
I think what's also interesting in our journey as we've developed the konfir platform is, you know, our focus is obviously on things like payroll providers and extracting the right data from that packet of information that comes across. It's the open banking side of life, which has really been fantastic in terms of what it can offer. But we are now constantly looking for new data sets, new data sources, new data providers to add further color to that verification process, because there really is the art of the possible, and within all of these data sets, they could answer and solve the problems more efficiently. So listen, I think we are, we've talked around the issues. We've launched the product together. It's clearly early days. We're going to work really hard to make this work. We're really proud to be associated with Giant Screening, Matt, and your team, who are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for taking a step with us. And any final words from you before we wrap up?
I think just to return those thanks, Steve, because it really takes people to disrupt the industry, to properly innovate, to allow us to constantly improve our proposition as well. So we're always looking for partners that can really improve the proposition to our clients, and we firmly believe that konfir are going to be a strong partner for us to make sure that that's improved. So well done, you guys, and keep
brilliant
work.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Cheers, Steve.